is set to begin next Wednesday, and there is chaos inside Broward County Public Schools.
Tonight, a clash over school security and the installation of metal detectors at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High. Plus, outrage after a report detailing Nicholas Cruz's time in Broward schools gets out, despite it being redacted, and growing calls for the superintendent, Robert Runcie, to step down. Joining us now, Broward County School Board member, Dr. Rosalind Osgood. Dr. Osgood, so good of you to join us. Thank you very much. And we know that later this week, some of the Parkland parents are going to call for the superintendent, Robert Runcie, to step down. Does he have your confidence?
He does have my confidence. When I look at all of the improvements that has happened over our school district during Mr. Runcie's tenure, I can strongly support his leadership in the continuation of it. When I look at academics, when I look at the fact that we're leading the state in closing the achievement gap, and I could just go on and on with the list of positive things that has happened under Mr. Runcie's leadership. However, I am sensitive to the loss of the Parkland parents, and as we go through recovering for what happened on February 14th, I think we're kind of learning as we go. This is not something that you can have a strategic plan for or prepare for, and I think Mr. Runcie and the staff has worked tirelessly to respond and meet the demands of many stakeholders, both inside of Parkland and outside of Parkland.
And the superintendent holding a press conference tomorrow on the campus of Stoneman Douglas. How do you want him to address the concerns of parents and those in the community who are asking that he step down?
Well, tomorrow during that press conference, we will be sharing factual information of the things that have been put in place, the things that are coming down the pike, and responding to questions that the community may have. I think during a time like this, we have to come together in order to make it through this crisis. A lot of the processes that takes place in bureaucracy and in the district have to go through a process. We have to first get an expert opinion, and in lieu of that opinion, go back and have further discussion with the community as a whole, and then with the board, and then try to come to some kind of amicable recommendation based on having the voices of everybody represented, even so to include our kids. I think right now we're in a very emotional and sensitive time. We are grieving. Those parents that had those direct losses are grieving on a level that many of us will never be able to understand. There are those that survived the shooting, they're grieving, and then as a district, we're trying to respond to the multiple demands of various stakeholders as to how we should move forward. For example, you have groups that are in favor of metal detectors. We have an expert opinion that cautioned us to slow down before we make that decision. My personal opinion is that we need to go out to the community, and then the board needs to have a discussion based on the input from the experts, the input from the community, and then try to come to some type of amicable solution about how to move forward. We have thousands and thousands of ideas. We've received emails, phone calls as to what our next steps are going to be. Unfortunately, we can't respond to everybody's idea or everybody's thought.
Sure,
we have to do our due diligence and make informed decisions.
Dr. Osgood, on the subject of those metal detectors, shouldn't there have been a more clear message coming from the district when it comes to whether or not they would be put in place for the start of the school year? There seems to have been a lot of confusion about that, back and forth.
We started down a path with the metal detectors with a lot of pressure from certain stakeholders about wanting the metal detectors and wanting them in from the beginning of school, and we began to pursue that. Once we got an expert opinion from an expert safety group that cautioned us and gave us additional information, we wanted to be able to step back and have a discussion with the community, and then have the board weigh in on the decision as well. Not just move forward with something because the staff was under pressure from various stakeholders without vetting it through the entire community, through the young people that are also involved, and then having the board come together and make a decision based on that. We're kind of learning as we go. A lot of things that we would like to have done in an expeditious way it's impossible to do it with expediency, because there has to be, anytime we go out for an expert opinion, we have to go through a procurement process, which takes time. There are many processes when you're looking at spending government dollars and responding to these things that we have to go through in order to do that. So I would rather for us to have a conversation now and take a comprehensive look at metal detectors and make a decision, rather than making a decision to go forward with something that may or may not help in this situation.
Okay, Dr. Osgood, I want to ask you quickly before we let you go how you were made aware, and the other members of the board were made aware of the court filing to hold the Sun-Sentinel, which published those redacted reports on Nicholas Cruz, in contempt. And what is your reaction?
Well, my reaction is this. I personally watched the court case on Friday, so I was very aware of the dynamics that took place. We published that report in a redacted way because the judge instructed us to do so. The Sun-Sentinel had another thought, and they made the basis of their decision. As a board member, I was not involved in our attorney's decision to file a complaint, a conjunction against the Sun-Sentinel. It was not actually a lawsuit, but our attorney expressed to us today, our legal department, that they operated in a manner that was in line with what the judge had recommended.
So you approve,
we have instructed our
of the court
attorney.
filing, Dr. Osgood? You're okay with it? You don't think the public has a right to know as much information as possible in this case?
So right now, I'm going to give you my personal opinion. I'm not going to give you my opinion as a board member, because as a board member, I have to follow the law and the instructions of the judge. As a person, as an individual citizen, mother, and mentee to a young lady who was almost killed in the shooting, I want to know as much information and want the public to know as much information. But as a board member who is bound to follow the judge's ruling and the judge's response, I have to operate in my capacity as a board member, following the direction and the authority of the judge.
Dr. Rosalind Osgood is a longtime member of the Broward County School Board. Dr. Osgood, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.